Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. I am Tammy Deans, and Amanda is with us here today, too.
Hi, guys. Hope you're good.
All right. You can already see our guest today, so let me go ahead and introduce him. This is George R. Lopez. He is a military veteran serving as an intelligence officer in the U.S. Air Force during the Cold War. Living in Europe for 3 years of his tour of duty, he fell in love with its history. After being honorably discharged, he has since made his home in Florida, and eventually much of his training led him into the field of the paranormal, where he excelled, fast becoming an accomplished, well-respected member of the community. Creator and host of his own network as a radio broadcaster, a prolific lecturer and spokesman for positive ideals regarding investigation of the supernatural realm. George brings a much-needed pragmatic perspective to his endeavor and avid pursuit of the truth. From veteran to researcher, now author of In a Flicker with Andrea Peron, a story blending a natural artistry with an insatiable curiosity, brewing in his analytical mind for a quarter of a century before finding its way into the world in print, brings an even broader brushstroke to his talents and experience. So let's go ahead and welcome George to the show. Hi, George.
Welcome, George.
Thank you, Tammy and Amanda. Thanks. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Wonderful. So how about we start with you just telling us a little bit about you?
Well, as you said, my background stems from the military. I'm a Jersey boy, transplanted to Florida for my dad's job back in the 19 and I lived here for the majority of my life. Got a chance to live overseas, as I said, in Germany for 3 years. And I found myself, once I moved to the Central Florida area, just around the Daytona Beach area, fascinated with the history of St. Augustine, which is an extremely haunted area. I became fascinated with the stories of ghosts and got into the paranormal. This is a baker's dozen years ago, and it quickly became so fascinated that I would go and travel across the country to as many different lectures by the seasoned investigators in this field, and picked up on all the different styles and techniques that everyone was utilizing in this field. I also got a chance, because of the travel, to visit some of the most historically haunted locations: Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, Rolling Hills Asylum, the Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, Pennhurst Asylum, Bobby Mackey's, Waverly Hills Sanatorium,
Nice.
Plantation. The list goes on, and every one of them has their own personality, their own character about it, and always a great opportunity to investigate these places.
So which one's your favorite so far?
For the aesthetic part of it, the beauty part of it, there's nothing that compares to the Stanley Hotel. Most people who've been there enough know that you step out the front door entranceway, and there are the beautiful Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Just absolutely gorgeous, and a very active location also. What's interesting about that place is that the only thing that's more popular than paranormal investigating the hotel are weddings. Weddings are very popular because of how gorgeous the property is.
Mm-hmm.
Dramatically, it is in a place that I'm currently writing about right now in my second book. But the old Florida ghost town in Central Florida, which I discovered probably about 10 years ago or so, and started off as a place with a lot of great activity. That first layer of ghosts from the history of that town, and year by year, layer by layer, digging deeper, finding some very powerful forces there, and some that affected me, affected some of my investigators when I still had my team, Port Orange Paranormal Society, and even visitors, guests that we had brought there, including Johnny Zaffis, Brian Cano, Andrea Peron had been there also. But it's a very haunted location, a lot of depth in this location, and very impactful to the research that I've done over these years.
So when is your book supposed to come out for this one? for this location?
I'm hoping by the beginning of 2018, the old saying of write what you know. And this is all about my personal experiences and the battles that I've had to deal with in the last 3 or 4 years. What John Zaffis, who was one of the first people that I called when these started happening, which was night terrors. And John kind of extends that out and calls it night terrorism, which is an infiltration into your dreams by an unseen force. Because of the way that I am, the way that I'm built energy-wise, I'm very grounded as an individual, very faith-based. And no matter what location I'd ever been to that had a reputation of some sort of demonic activity, I've never experienced anything at any of these locations that I could even begin to make that claim, no matter it was myself or my team members that really had anything that dreadful occur. And I think a lot of it is because, again, I'm so grounded. So when these attacks happened, it happened at my most vulnerable point, which was in my sleep, when I can't protect myself. But found soon enough that when some of these were happening, and it was psychological attacks, it was a lot of attacks that would basically make a person wake up crying or screaming. It's an emotional direction that it takes, which is really clever and why they call it terrorism and demonic terrorism is because what they go after. That I would wake up from these either saying the Lord's Prayer, Psalm 23, physically swinging, and challenging. If you're going to do this in my awake state, materialize. Let's go at this right now because you're not going to win. And that's the basic idea behind what this book is going to talk about. And also for those people who are dealing with this, and there are other people in the community who are suffering through these night terrors and suffering through terrors when they're awake and feel like no one else is having these same experiences. There's nobody that they can share this with and let them know that there are others out there who are dealing with this also, and maybe shed a little light on how I'm able to survive this. And from anyone and everyone that I've spoken to about this, from John Zaffis to a Bishop James Long, we've all come to the decision that this is something that I'll have to deal with the rest of my life. And the visits to this old Florida ghost town was its origin, we believe. This is where it all kicked off. This is where the attacks began. And this is something that once you're touched by spirit, you're always touched by spirit, that this is something that I may have to contend with for the rest of my life. There's no such thing as just dripping holy water on my forehead and wearing a crucifix, and that's going to be it, and it's all said and done. Same thing with these people who have exorcisms performed on them. Usually there's a multitude of them that have to be performed, and it has to be on a constant basis to keep from it reoccurring or growing again within them. So, but yeah, I'm interested. But we're still pushing in a flicker right now. Andrea Peron and myself, co-author. Andrea Peron, if anybody doesn't know her, where have you been besides under a rock? But she is the eldest daughter of the family that went through the ordeal at the farmhouse in Rhode Island, Harrisville, Rhode Island, in the 1970s. That eventually became the blockbuster motion picture, The Conjuring. And we collaborated together on an amazing book that is based on historical events with fictional characters, and the ratings, guys, on Barnes and Noble and Amazon and Goodreads has been 5-star reviews. People are loving it and hating it at the same time. It gives them that.
That's fantastic. I mean, not the hating part, but the loving part. With the night terrors, do you, because I get them myself, I've got them for years now. I'll wake up on the floor or covered in sweat or crying or, lots of fun, different things. So is there any advice outside of like me reading your book, which I will once it comes out, as to maybe how to temper that just a little bit? I mean, I use crystals, I use my stones, I use grounding techniques, but like sometimes it just doesn't have any effect at all.
Let me ask you first this question, Amanda, in this sense, when you use all these different items, or and I would assume you're either an amateur or a seasoned professional investigator of the paranormal.
I'm an empath. Yeah.
Total empath. Okay.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with these items, let me take something example. If I was given these glasses and somebody told me that these glasses, if I wear them, will protect me from a demonic attack, it's my belief that this will work.
Of course.
If you do not have 100% belief in these glasses or those crystals or those artifacts, I really, and again, it's that energy that you possess yourself. They'll say that that crystal has energy, but is there any way of understanding or knowing that it really is aware, has a conscious awareness of you, and that it is helping you and protecting you? Or is it your energies that, as an empath, is receptive, and now you have to turn that energy around and know how to make it projective, to push away negative? And that's the one thing that I know when I go into any of these haunted places, I am strongly projecting. I'm in charge. Or as I would teach when we would go to some of these places, and I would find somebody who, again, is dealing with some of these attacks, whatever they may be, it always seems to be that they are lacking in their self-strength. They're lacking in their self-confidence, in a sense. And I even ask, there was one young man that I asked, have you ever had your mom just look at you and go, no? And you know that no means no. There's no change. It's no different than saying no in any other factor. It's the energy that comes with it. So when I would go to these locations to investigate, that no was already being presented by me. And the same position in my subconscious. No, you are not going to manipulate me. You are not going to terrorize me. I'm going to fight you. And I know you're ancient, and I know that your energy is infinite. There's no beginning or end. But while I'm on this earth, you are not going to win.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think that's great advice for everybody.
It helps the majority of those that I've talked to. Some have even dealt with their own personal demons, that things that control them, and whether it be alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and even sometimes personal abuse, that they have kind of given themselves, surrendered their identity to an item or an individual, and being able to, again, push out or project out that assuredness. I know who I am, and I know what I can do, and I know what I will and won't do. And sometimes when these type of influences dive into your life or sneak into your life, including for you, Amanda, in the middle of your sleep, if something is doing that kind of an attack on you and you surrender to it, there's no matter what it is, there's no way of getting out of that situation. You know, as far as getting that self-worth and that value and that strength, repetition is the mother of skill. The more that you practice it in life, the more it's going to be a subconscious effort for you. So you won't have to think about it. You'll automatically fight even in your night terrors.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Absolutely.
So have you ever, Andrea Peron is one of my favorite people. Just love her to death.
She's wonderful.
She was just up in August for the Michigan Paranormal Convention.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I missed her big to-do that she had, where she went outside and everybody joined her and she had visitors. Have you ever been able to witness that? I missed it. No.
Andrea and I have traveled all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. We've traveled out to the wonderful city of New Orleans. We've had some great ventures, and she is absolutely convinced at this point in time that I scare them away because, well, listen, in this field, it's easy to accept virtually anything as paranormal. You know, if you are going to an investigation and a black cat crosses your path and then you fall going up a set of stairs, it's because of that luck. or it's because a demon pushed you, and not that you're clumsy. And I have to reverse engineer that every time I'm in this field doing an investigation. Let's look at the obvious first. Most people don't want to do that because that, again, that belief, that need to believe is so strong. Acceptance is just that easy. And that is scary for us in this field because we could be missing the greater opportunities, the challenges with contact with the other side. And whether that be extraterrestrial or a disembodied spirit or something that comes from mythology, something that comes from the aspect of cryptozoology, whether it be Bigfoot, chupacabra. I mean, there are so many different things that we should look to adopt and try. I mean, for God's sake, as far as cryptozoology, we have people out there hunting Bigfoot. And it blows my mind when we should be contacting. We should be looking for that connection. What is it? And the worst thing, man, and what I mean by man is our species, the worst thing our species is guilty of when it comes to the paranormal umbrella is thinking that every single one of these entities that we're trying to connect with are only equal to our intelligence. We never consider their superior intelligence. And that is our biggest mistake. That includes spirits, that includes cryptids. All those are possibly far more advanced than we are in our minds. And we don't, well, we look at dolphins as being equal to us, and they use far more percentage of the brain than we do. And yet we still catch them up in nets and still, train them for SeaWorld entertainment, and not really realizing the potential of what those creatures could teach us rather than what we could teach them with fish. It's a shame.
Yeah.
But as far as we're talking about with Andrea and her gatherings on that, she does that in such an amazing drawing. Andrea is a connecting soul herself, and you see that the way that people connect with her. So it's not a surprise to me that that connection that she feels with, as she calls it, her galactic family, as she feels connecting with extraterrestrials, with those from other dimensions, is not, again, that strong belief that I talk about for my grounding. She also believes in regards to connection. So it's not a surprise to me that others feel that same connection when they are around her. Could they have that same example when they are out there by themselves, or that same sensation? I don't know. I just know that when they are around Andrea, they absolutely are focused in and harnessing the energy collectively together to try and make that contact. I think it's, again, it's magical. But I'm always the one that's going to judge what is it that I see, what is it that I hear, what is it that I feel. And I'm going to rule out everything else before I'm going to label it as anything paranormal.
Right. So do you believe that each one of us then has our own energy field and we're able to affect other people with that field of energy?
Well, I mean, you've seen it with thermal imaging cameras. You've seen it with oral photography. We do possess it. What we are able to do with it still remains to be seen. I think there are certain subconscious abilities that a mother may have with their child, or twins may have with each other, or best friends or soulmates that they do connect. And that's just over time, that they have built that skill, that capability with one another, spent so much time with one another that they are in sync. And I certainly think that that's possible out there. But the stronger thing that we've been trying is something that I know you had Terry Rohde on just recently, is the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness experiments began probably about 2-3 years ago, with different groups in each of the environments, and yet still getting about 80 to 85% positive results in getting everyone involved to connect to the spirits. And the best way I can describe that in a Reader's Digest version is to simply say we'd have 8 to 10 people together, all close their eyes in a location that has been reputed to be haunted, and start to trust, first and foremost, creating an environment through self-manifested water in the room as to who is in the room, what is moving in the room, where they're standing in the room. And we've seen collectively the group all point to the same location of where the water rushed in the room in their minds. Collectively, in the same location where the spirits entered the room, they'd all point to the same direction. And then once I got them confident that it is working, that you do have this ability, that we all have this ability, then I would start asking them to focus on those spirits in the room and what their story is, that they would play out in their minds, kind of like a movie, like your imagination, what happened in their lives. And one by one, one person would start with the description of the individual. Then the next person would describe what time of the era it was. It was 1800s, 1900s. Then another one would describe that they were starving at the time or they were in battle at the time. And the ones prior would be nodding their head saying, I'm seeing the same exact thing. The connection is being offered to us. The block is ourselves. For millennia upon millennia, we have been taught to separate, to segregate, to be individuals and not commune. Very, very small parts of the world still continue to do that, but we do not. So finding that what is already in our genetic DNA, the ability to correlate not only with ourselves, but to communicate with these energies that have passed. They still have that aura that we were talking about. They still have that energy, and they're willing to share it. They want to tell their story. So to have people sharing that together and the emotions, I can tell you every single time that everybody feels what these spirits felt. They're sharing more than just the thoughts, more than just the memories. They're sharing the emotions of that experience. Right. And almost every time there is not a dry eye in the house. It's just an incredible, incredible connection. And it's not just a skill that I have honed. Everybody that I try to meet, I try to teach them that they can do this themselves. That if there's a team, Ken DaCosta, Rise of Paranormal, Cody Despians, who works with Ken DaCosta, have been trying this at the Payne House. Terry Rohde and Tracy Watts have been experimenting with this. Susan and Tracy Todd up in Pensacola have been experimenting with this because it has the true potential to advance this field past, look at my orb picture and listen to my EVP. It's the connection that we are missing. And what's more important, being able to go to a haunted location and scream, I got smacked on the butt by a demon, or being able to say, I was able to connect with my loved one, my grandmother, my children, whomever, that I could make that connection. That's the part of this field that is still missing. And hopefully we will get there.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. So back to In a Flicker.
Yep.
Where did the idea come from for a fiction book? Sorry.
I guess the only way I could put it is it was beamed down. That's the only way. And I'm not trying to be facetious here. I can tell you comedically that it's happened now twice, and it helped to verify. 25 years ago, there and about, is when this story just came to mind. And I don't mean that I just thought, wouldn't this be cool? I mean the entire, like it played out as a motion picture in my head. The entire story just popped into my head. And over 25 years, I think I told a grand total of a half a dozen people, 6 people, who heard that entire story, whether somebody I was in a relationship with or a family member. But I explained the entire story from beginning to end. And always when I got to the end, people were just, their minds were blown. And on a travel with Andrea, she was kind of down. She had finished the trilogy for House of Darkness, House of Light, and she didn't know which direction she was going next. And she actually almost felt as if her life was over. What was there to continue on? Mm-hmm. And I basically at that point had given her the story, abridged version, Reader's Digest version. Probably took about 45 minutes to an hour to give her from start to finish. And she was also blown away and said, you have to write this. And I said, I've never been able to write a book. She goes, I'm a writer. I'll do it. Let's do it together. So you just do the rough and we'll expand it out from there. And that's how In a Flicker was born. And as we were going through the proofreads, and we had a couple of fantastic readers for us that came on board and took their time to go through the book and see where everything was. Timeline was fine. It just, we wanted to make sure that it was impacting the way we wanted to impact. And the response back from the first proofreader to the second to the third to the fourth is, when is book 2 coming out? So now it's running in my mind, what am I going to do for book 2? And one night I'm laying in bed. It was about 2:40 in the morning that I laid down, and my mind is trying to come up with different ideas. I'm thinking about this, thinking about that. And at 3:05, like a complete download, the movie from beginning to end, book 2 was downloaded to me. And I was so excited about it that our one proofreader, Nikki Salacho, lived in Las Vegas, and Andrea, both miraculously, both happened to be up at 3:05 a.m. Well, 12:05 for Nikki. I Skyped them both in, and I told them the story from beginning to end, and they were blown away. Are they downloaded? Are we just vessels sometimes for these stories or these songs or these poems or the artwork? Are we just vessels that are something else greater than us channels through? I don't know. I have no idea. But again, I'm looking forward to getting into the second book. After I write the book I'm writing right now, it's initially titled Belief, B-E-L-I-E-F, but I'm not sure yet. It's a working title. But I want to get this done and out there first, because something tells me that this field needs that right now. There's a lot of people that are lost and that are hurting right now, and the field has now become somewhat selfish of, what can I get out of this? Can I get a TV show? Can I get some recognition with my pictures, with my videos? Can I get enough YouTube hits on my YouTube channel that I can start getting paid? And it's not about the success, the progress, or the regressions, the things that people are dealing with right now. Nobody's helping. God bless you.
Thank you.
But yeah, the book, like I said, in a flicker, you can get it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, basically anywhere. And just please feel free. 2 things. You can scroll down to where the reviews are and read some of the reviews. Some of it are spoilers, but it only spoils the premise of the story, which I don't want to give here, because some people want to go into it blind and then just be blown away by it. But other people will be like, oh, I like this topic, and so they'll get it for that reason. Well, you'll find that in the reviews. Go to Amazon and see what is there. And then if you do pick up this book, you do order it, whether it's on Kindle, whether you get a hard copy or soft copy, please, once you're done, write a review also, because that helps us tremendously with Amazon and helping to get the book promoted. So if you guys are going to get out there and read this, I'd love for you to read it, and I'd love to hear from you what you think of the book.
Wonderful. We do have a question here. I'll put it up on the screen for you here. What do you think of elemental spirit ghosts or demons?
Well, I'm thinking that there should be elemental spirits, ghosts, demons. Or if they're all elemental spirit, ghost, demons, I wouldn't want to touch it.
No kidding.
Elementals are extremely powerful, yet at the same time, you being an empath, and if you've seen enough episodes of Dead Files,
yes, I have.
She touches upon the elementals on a regular basis. They are a strong ancient power, but they are a protective power more than anything else, as far as what I've researched and what people are projecting out there from their experiences. As far as spirits and ghosts, just like people, you get the good ones and you get the bad ones. You get the pranksters and you get the boring ones. Just like you have investigators that, if you're at a particular historically haunted location and you get them every weekend, you're either going to get the same redundant questions, which you don't even want to come from the second floor to come talk to the investigators. Some people want to go, what is your name? How long have you died? I mean, they don't bother. So the creativity might be something that interests them again. But again, their personalities, just like in the living, it's something that you're going to come across. Some that may try to be violent, but that's sometimes you wonder as to whether or not those that are violent, same thing, are trying to tell their story, and people are not really looking for that. They initially provoke, and or make fun of or disrespect, and be careful what you ask for. But if you say, I'm willing to listen to your story, and there's been occasions, and as an empath, you'll understand this, Amanda, as an occasion, and I always give a preface before we begin, that you may, during this, feel the rawest form of communication. And the rawest form of communication is emotion. So you may all of a sudden feel sad. You may feel giddy, giggly in the middle of an investigation. You may get angry. Or from a physiological standpoint, you might start to feel nauseous, or you might not be able to breathe. Those are the raw connections to perhaps how they died. Perhaps they were poisoned. Perhaps they were hung. A shot to the head will give you an extreme headache. A lobotomy will give you a problem in your eye. You don't run from what you don't understand if you're trying to be in this field to learn. And people immediately will villainize and dramatize that experience. Oh my God, I'm nauseous. Oh, I got to get out of here. You just broke contact. Contact's broken.
Exactly.
Back. So I form them to welcome it as we're going through that motion. If you're making connection and you are finding a situation that you have now connected empathically to their trauma, that means they've opened up to you.
Yeah.
That should be exciting. That's something that you should look forward to. If it's too intense, that's when you, in your mind's eye, in your third eye, you tell them, and they call putting it up a wall, but you say, it's too intense. You need to back off from me. Just back off from me a little bit. It's too intense. And if it begins to diminish, does not tell you that it's an intelligent response?
Yes.
And follow through with it. That's the important part. Finally, the topic, demons. They exist. They're tricky. But they are not waiting in the third room on the left-hand side of some abandoned hospital or asylum just so they can come out and scratch you and then leave. These are creatures of destruction.
They prey on somebody.
They'll tear your life apart. They'll tear your world apart. All right. When something happens, wouldn't it be more of a logical thought that perhaps in this building that there are the spirits of animals? If you've ever come to somebody's house that's got a big dumb Irish setter and they open up the door and that dog jumps up, what scratches the front of your arm but those first 3 protruding nails on a dog? But it's easy to say, mock of the Trinity. It's the demons, mock of the Trinity. And they just take that and run with it because it's far more dramatic. Not taking everything to a negative, to such a degree of a negative, because every time that this field does that, and Grant, it's great for entertainment. It's great to see Zach touch the Annabelle doll and everybody go out of their minds and, oh, is he crazy, whatever. But it's great television and it gets people talking. But if your heart is in this, if you're in this because you've lost a loved one, if you're in this because you know people who need help and you've got that heart to help people, then why the hell always focus on the dark and the demonic? Because the chances of that really happening, unless you are openly inviting it, the chances of it happening are like being in a plane crash as your lotto tickets win. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But people love it because fear sells.
So you were saying that you've been in contact with John Zaffis because of your night terrors and stuff. And we were talking a little bit about being exorcised. Have you ever been exorcised?
No. It's the same principle thing again I've discussed with some incredible people out there that deal with this. Keith Johnson, renowned demonologist. I've spoken with John at length. I've visited his house on countless occasions, and we've had these deep discussions. And when it comes to the Catholic exorcism, or any other exorcism for that matter, though, that I believe that a lot of what people experience is more psychological than it is spiritual. And if you have a priest in front of you speaking Latin one of several possibilities I think are out there, more so than that there's a demon and you are throwing up the essence of that demon. Number one is more than likely your belief that you are being exorcised is going to physiologically affect you and psychologically affect you. The second, as I talked about before, genetic DNA, that somewhere within your makeup is still the knowledge and know-how of Latin. Even though you don't speak it, it's somewhere locked within your DNA code. And that speaking of Latin could unlock certain reactions that are generations old, also creating physiological experiences, including vomiting, nausea, whatever it may be. But to jump at it so quickly, and again, there's so many teams out there that will do a residential case dealing with something of this severity without the education, without the background in psychology, without the background in theology, for that matter, and just believe because of what they saw that one time that Nick Roth was grabbing the pool table at the Moon River Brewery in Savannah, Georgia, that he wanted to kill Zach and he wanted to kill Aaron, that, oh, this must be a possession, so we're going to start with the holy water and bring. Frightening and scary, because if this person is dealing with some sort of psychological disorder, you are only adding to the problem. I had done, when I still had my team here locally, Port Orange Paranormal Society, great group of people, great group of kids that I got a chance to train, and we did scores of residential cases. I have walked out of residential cases when people were trying to get all dramatic, like they were possessed. Walked out because I knew that they had seen the shows and they wanted that same dramatic reaction. Walked out. Now people say, well, George, you just left them there in the pain that they were in. No, I left them in the dramatics that they were in. You can tell when somebody's in pain. I've dealt with clients who were dealing with pain. Mm-hmm. But you have those out there, including the ones who their focus has been so much on the paranormal shows. This is in its heyday when I was doing residential cases, because that's when it spiked, when all the shows were on, that I would have to go out to these cases where they said that their children were being tormented. And I get to their house and they have DVD upon DVD of their recordings of their home for investigations. They have journals of their investigations. They have Wiccan symbols tattooed on their hand or the pentagram, and the house is filthy. And the kid is sleeping in dirty clothes, and it's just their obsession overtook what would be normal, reasonable, rational life. And it was not too long after that I disbanded the team, and I said, we can go to historically haunted locations, but I'm not going to participate in this craziness, this insanity. Do
you think it was, do you think mental illness had a lot to do with that then? Or just people just kind of jumping on a bandwagon?
I think it's social illness, not necessarily mental illness, not that individual, but there's if you go on social media nowadays, and everybody's got a political opinion, everybody's got a social opinion, and people will just say the most incredible, irrational statements, or be as vulgar as can possibly be. And there's a need out there, and social media provides it, for relevance. Someone who either is home on a regular basis, does not have any type of outward opinion. They don't have anybody that they can share their opinions with, full-on conversation. Maybe, they are frustrated with their job, frustrated with their relationship, whatever it may be. But this is an easy way to lash out. It's just anger. And this gives them that forum to say whatever that they want and upset people, go on to other people's feeds and upset them. It's a sick direction in which we go. And I know I'm going off topic, but it has relevance also to this field, that people who've seen these shows and have seen these clients on these shows and go, my paranormal experiences are worse than that. I should be on one of these shows. I need to get a paranormal team in, and perhaps if I can sell it to the paranormal team that comes in and they collect enough evidence, they'll get me to the next level to be on one of these major shows, where now I'm I have relevance in my life. I'm a celebrity now in my life, even if it's to the sacrifice of my children being embarrassed at school, or my significant other being ostracized at work. I'm going to do this because I need this relevance, and it's a shame. But that's what
15 seconds of fame.
Right, right, and to itself, it could be somewhat of a bit of mental instability. But who of us is sane? We all have our little idiosyncrasies.
Definitely. So, where do you want to investigate next?
I'm sorry, say again?
Where would you like to investigate next? Do you have anything in mind?
I've, for a good 8 years, I did a paranormal web show called Dead Air. Started off all by myself, and it grew into an incredible group of fantastic hosts and guests and topics, where we've had everybody from Grant Wilson, Nick Roth, John Zaffis, Steve DeShavi, Amy Allen, Michelle Belanger, Chip Coffey on a myriad occasions that would come onto the show. It
I love him.
A really fantastic show for many, many years. But again, what I was noticing, and maybe I'm a product of my own destruction or catalyst, is that over time the show's interest or the volume of listeners began to shrink. And I think it was because what we were trying to do was advance this field. And again, so many in this field did not want that. They weren't looking for advancement. They were looking to be scared. They were looking to have teams come onto the show or celebrities come onto the show. And if they got a chance to call in, it was always, what was the scariest thing that ever happened to you? What was the scariest place you've ever been to? The same things they've been hearing for over a decade. And we were trying to advance this field, and it didn't seem that there was enough of a collective interest in this field for that. There are small pockets, don't get me wrong, small pockets of great people in this field that are still being so diligent and always trying to find ways of getting better contact. But, the show of this declining as far as the ratings that people were not listening in anymore. I mean, first time we started, we had Nick Ruff on. There was over 100 people in the chat room. Last time we had him on, there were 12. Gives you an idea. So, we ended the show a year ago, this last August. And at that point in time, I kind of stepped back from the paranormal. I started, doing collective consciousness more so with people like Terry Rohde, who was doing a road trip this last summer. And, she would have me call into the location that they were at, such as Hinsdale House, and have me conduct the collective consciousness experience via phone. And I always found those to be very, very interesting, and do remote viewing for her also from my home to these locations. Found it very interesting, but putting in the time. Wait, I have to
interrupt. Remote viewing. Are we talking technical thing, or are we talking mental remote viewing?
The paranormal explanation of just projecting my mind to where they're at and describing locations or parts of the building that they're in that I couldn't see via the television or via the computer. Okay. And I really enjoyed that. But taking that investment to travel and go to all these different places, I did that for, like I said, the better part of a decade, traveling to some of the most historically haunted locations and going back and still have a great rapport with all these locations too. But to pick up on a weekend and again, you take away from work, take away from whatever you normally do at home, to stop and go out and do these investigations. I've been invited to a lot of them, including Michigan. I couldn't take the time away. I had to reprioritize. And if it were a different direction that we were going in the field and we were making progress because of that direction, I would certainly reinvest my time back in it. But now, for me, these books are important. This next book, very important for the paranormal. And if I wind up going out on tour with this book and talking and teaching people that they can deal with and survive, such as Amanda, from these night terrors, and how to reinforce and strengthen yourself, I'd be more than happy to get back out and do that again. But technically going out and doing investigations, I'll do once in a while. I'll do spirit box sessions like I did the night before Halloween this year. I did a live Facebook from my backyard. It was very, very interesting spirit box session, about an hour and a half. And from time to time, I'll go up to St. Augustine. But I'm kind of stepping back from it for a while right now. I've got other more important things on the shelf at this moment.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the book, Belief, if that's what you go for with that name. I really am interested in that one. I've never heard of the ghost city in Florida.
Well, it's not the name of it, and I only refrain from saying the actual name because it is privately owned. Unfortunately, the family there has had to deal with numerous trespassers, people who just ignore the no trespassing signs and will cross over those and go near the homes there themselves. So, it has been brought up. It has been spoken before. People have gone to investigate there along with me, have mentioned the name. But I just, out of respect, I choose not to. It's an old Florida ghost town in the central part of Florida. But there are so many of them that are out there right now. And truly and honestly, it's a dangerous place. I know that from firsthand experience now, from a spiritual standpoint. And I'm sure I don't even have to look over. I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at Amanda's face, but she's trying to test or gauge what it is that I've connected with. And it's pretty dark, and I know she knows. It's something that if you think of claws, you're right, Amanda. It is. It's just think of those claws, and you're right on. And I understood the risks. And anybody who's in this field that does not understand that there are risks involved in many forms, you shouldn't be in this field. There are risks. I took those risks, and I'll tell you exactly. This is one thing I can tell you, and it'll be in the book, is how it all started. And you're both going to groan. You're both going to groan and say, George, I can't believe you did this, but it was for the advancement. Is that in one of the buildings, one of the houses on this property was a closet that we were convinced we knew was a portal. We had seen imps come out of it. We had seen dark forces. We had seen snake-like forces come out of it. And people had experienced it time and time again, but we weren't getting anything forward. So I chose, with my own free will, to step into that closet, to close the door, and to say, show me where you come from. And that opened it.
Yeah, well, that took some balls and would definitely put you in the situation that you're in right now for sure. The reason, like with our team, that I don't investigate right now is because mentally I know that I'm not in a strong enough place for me to go and do investigations. I really want to, so very badly. Like Tammy is well aware, and so is the rest of our team, of how much I want to go into the places that we are investigating and be a part of the investigation. But I know right now that it's just, I can't. It's not a safe place for me to be at all, which is unfortunate because it's still good because I get to go over all of the EBP and the video and things to that nature. But I miss being able to be a part of the investigation process, but I also know myself well enough to know that right now there's no way in hell I'm grounded or strong enough to be in a place where something, there might not even be something bad there, but if there is, I'm not strong enough to keep it.
Yeah, I think
keep it at bay.
I think finding your anchor is key. I think finding first a person that is an anchor is key. Somebody who can talk you off the ledge when you're getting to that point in time. Are you a mom?
Yes, and I have an anchor. My husband is absolutely one of them.
Yeah.
So I know that he could talk me off of any ledge. So that part I have in place. It's just a matter of I still have some healing to do before we're going to get to a point where the team or myself is comfortable with me going in to any location.
Well, let's try a quick experiment here first, Amanda. I'm going to enjoy this. Just pretend that you're Skyping right now with one of your kids, and they said, you know what, I'm going to go out shooting with a bunch of friends this weekend. We're going to drink beer and go shooting. And I want you to give me your best mom no right now.
No. Not happening.
Tammy, how did that energy look? Did you buy it? Did you believe it?
You know what? No.
Mom, you know what? We're going to go out there. We're going to shoot guns. We're going to drink beer. And chances are we're going to bully some kids and we're going to beat them up too, okay?
Okay, no. That's not happening. 1, no guns. 2, no bullying. And 3, you're way too young to drink. So you can take all that shit off the table right now because it's not happening.
How was that energy, Tammy?
That's better.
You project that no in such a way. It doesn't matter whether you're on grass, whether you're on water, doesn't matter whether you're in the middle of a fire. That is your defense. That is your grounding right there. Having that anchor with your husband and being able to know that you can draw from his as an empath, you can draw that strength, but you're still receiving. It's that point in time when you've learned to take that energy, almost like a superhero, and then turn that and push that out with that no. And you don't have to say it verbally. You can just say it with your energy.
Mm-hmm.
And once you learn that, you're going to be so much more confident to go out with these teams and be able to really help them where they need to be helped. And every time that feeling of, I feel like, and then you just kind of, instead of pushing that no, you take control of it yourself, not expecting them to rescue you, not expecting that running away. You. Right. That's important.
Yeah. No, I don't break contact once I have it. Like you had said earlier, I enjoy contact immensely most of the time. But I worked in a very negative environment for 13 years, which had a pretty big impact. So I'm still just trying to reel and come back down from, just get myself back in order before I put myself back out there again.
How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice.
Yes.
So, George, we have somebody here on, there it is, wants to know, do you practice a faith spirituality and do you pray before you investigate?
I'm feeling good when I'm getting these questions because I'm covering all this in the book Belief. I'm covering it all because it would be things that I would be asking myself. And in answer to your question, my faith, my belief comes from inside. I have not been to church since 9/11. When we were still a family in New Jersey, we used to go to those old cathedrals that were built by the same people who built cathedrals in Europe. So they were majestic, they were gorgeous, they were old, turn of the century. And then we moved to Florida for my dad's job, and the parish down the street was a one-story building that had the neon lights in the plastic. I mean, it just didn't have any of the pomp and circumstance that we had that I guess kind of helped project our faith. The big stained glass windows, the cathedrals, all of that was gone. Florida just, it rented out a place, and that's where you went to go to church. And my parents didn't feel drawn to that. We all went as a family one time, and that was it. And that was back in 1970. And then the last time I went to church, well, that's not true. 9/11 was the last time I just needed to go to church. And I've been to a couple of churches for the passing of friends or family members, but I don't go regularly. I don't need to go regularly. Every time I feel I need to talk to God or any of my loved ones who I've passed, I know that I can speak to them at any moment, in the car, at home, out and about, traveling somewhere, that I just bring up a topic and I'll talk to them about it. And it's cathartic for me. It's spiritually gratifying because I know that they can hear me. I don't go to a place of worship to worship because I do it anytime I wish. And I'm strongly grounded in my faith. I was raised Catholic, in case that was one of the parts of the question. I was raised Catholic. So, but yeah, I'm very comfortable with who I am. who I have been and who I will continue to be. And sometimes I'm an asshole, but with purpose, not just randomly.
But aren't we all?
Yeah, I can be the biggest bitch ever. I'm well aware of it. I accept it for what it is.
It makes us who we are. It does, and it gives us our strength.
So I am just trying to put this up here. There we go. So, did it go? It didn't even go.
No, it didn't go. There we go.
So I put belief, but everybody that's listening, it's not a solid title yet. It may change. So regardless, you still have to look for George to make sure that's the right one. But it's coming in 2018.
Right. I mean, if you guys, if you search for In a Flicker, if you haven't gotten a chance to get that book yet, you'll find the site for In a Flicker. You'll find me as an author, and then as this book is introduced through our publisher, Gatekeeper Press, that'll be put up there also. So all you have to do after 2018 is go back to where you bought In a Flicker, and you'll see this book pop up, even if the name does not change. I believe Belief will be the name with a subtitle underneath of it, but yeah, that's what it'll wind up being at that point in time for sure. So look for it at that spot.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Also,
before we run out of go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say for those of you that do want a little bit of a teaser, if you go to inaflickernovel.com, which is the website that we designed for the book itself, there is a promo video on the upper right hand corner.
Oh, cool!
And
that's awesome.
It's like a self-made movie that I made that kind of gives a little bit of teaser about the story itself. So definitely check it out.
That's neat.
Is that right? inaflickernovel.com?
That's it.
Showed up.
Hey, everybody see it there. Get going. All right. Anything else?
It was great talking to you.
Out of time.
Yeah, just I appreciate you guys bringing me on. Would love to come back if you want me. And
yeah, once your new book comes out, we'd love to have you back. I mean, we'd love to have you back before that, but I mean, right now, I'm just saying that when your book comes out,
yeah, absolutely.
Then maybe we can have you back and we can promote that for you. And
what I'll look to do also is I'll send a message to Terry Rohde and have her send you guys some of the collective consciousness experiments we did. So you guys can analyze that, and then we can talk at length or at nauseum about those topics too, without question.
Great.
And for those of you who want to get the In a Flicker, still in time for Christmas, so order them up as quick as possible.
Good. Awesome. Well, thank you very much, George. You have a wonderful night, and we appreciate you coming on our show.
Thank you guys so much. You have a happiest of holidays. Please be safe out there, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Take care.
All right. So that was George.
That was fun.
Yeah, he was awesome, eh?
Yeah, I really liked that.
Definitely. I can't remember. I think it was Terry Rohde that said to talk to him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Terry. Definitely wonderful. Okay, so before we run out of time, next week is locally here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Canada. We have our Moonlight Magic here downtown, so I will be working at the store. Our show will have to be canceled for next week, but we are back again on the 23rd. So back again, 23rd, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check us out. And I'm not sure who the guest is because, of course, we all know me. I forget.
Never remember. And let them know that you're open on the moon night.
Well, yes, I'm still open.
Okay, and I'll be on the corner. I'll be working the corner, handing out.
Okay, well, that doesn't sound very good. Going to be handing out tickets for a free turkey draw.
Promotional information.
Yes. So definitely come on out if you are in our local area. Check us out. I'll be doing readings. We've got tea and tarot, lots of in-store specials, things going on. So Queen Street's going to go crazy. Everybody join in, and that's it. We'll see you back here, though, in 2 weeks on the 23rd.
Okay.
So, you good to go, Amanda?
Oh, yeah, I'm great.
All right.
Night, guys.